to sing. Yes. I don't really do warm-ups, things like that. So let's just get right into the first piece, which is Mravalzhamier. This workshop's going to be on chant, but I thought we'd start off with a liturgical chant or this folk song. This is kind of how we bridge the liturgy to the feast. So at the feast later on today, we're going to be singing this one. So we're going to be singing a Mravalzhamier. I'm not sure if it was this one. So let's start with the text. Repeat after me. Mravalzhamier. And that's about it, right? I think that's the whole thing. We repeat that. Mravalzhamier. So the R is more like Spanish R. No American R's. And this is, I chose this piece because it's quite simple, but it gets us into Georgian harmony right away with what I call a 5-4-1 chord. If you look right after the first tenor solo, we come in with the top voice of middle voices, so just skipping that solo, let's come in and see if we can sight read through this. Starting right here at the end of the first line. Ready? And the range, I'm doing it in a tenor and bass range, so you can sing it up an octave if you like, no problem with that. Georgian folk music and the harmony and the chant and harmony as well is all close harmony, so as I said in the lecture yesterday, it lends itself to tenors and baritones together or sopranos and altos together. So if we sing in a mixed choir like this, we should really kind of pitch it higher. Do you want to try singing a little bit higher? So that all the women, you'll be singing your alto range. Baritones where I need you to sing higher, a lot higher. Could you sing the solo, the Mravalzhamier, but do it higher? Higher. Higher. Giderti, Tony Malo. Giderti. Okay. play to Tony Mala? Any questions about that one? So you're starting into it, the Georgian performance practice, singing with your natural voice, singing. You don't need to worry about. You just sing out like that. Get it out like your throat, like you're talking loudly. That's how we sing. Out like that. So let your voice shine out. Now let's turn to the last page and try this very simple trisagion hymn called Tsmidao ghmerto. This is Holy God, Holy Almighty, Holy Immortal, have mercy on us. One of the oldest texts. And we have lots of musical variants of this. First the words. Repeat after me. Tsmidao.
Tsmidao.
Ghmerto.
Ghmerto.
Tsmidao zliero.
Tsmidao zliero.
Tsmidao ukvdao.
Tsmidao ukvdao.
Shen.
Shen.
Good enough. So the reason I wanted to try this piece is just to challenge you a little bit to get into Georgian tuning. So as the top voice comes down this descending tetrachord, we want to have the C's be a little bit higher. So instead of Tsmidao, instead of the whole step, half step, we want to make them each 3/4 steps, top voices, and then middles you'll have your turn. So, Tsmidao, make it a little neutral. Can we try it? Just for fun. And then Mark will have to unlearn this later.
No, this is
So you can do it, let's do it in your octave, a little bit higher, octave above that. And the line is Tsmidao ghmerto. Can we try that, tops? And good. Let's have the C even higher. Tsmidao. A little bit higher than when. Let's try it again. And okay, good. Middle. Alright, here we go. So for you, the F's are a little bit neutral, but not so neutral that we get like a Phrygian sound where it's no. It needs to feel sharp, but it'll be not a real bright third sharp. It needs to be Tsmidao ghmerto. It's still kind of a whole step, but not fully, because we don't want that really bright majory sound. So let's try middle voices here. And good enough. And bass is Tsmidao, ghmerto. So your C is the neutral one. Let's try it together. Good. All three voices together. And try reading the next phrase. And the next one. Any questions on notes? No, it sounds good. Let's move it up a pitch. In Georgian chant, we pitch it wherever our personnel can sing it. We're not bound to whatever's written here. And the editors of these manuscripts often change the key from the original manuscripts anyway, so it's all close harmony. We can move this harmony wherever we like. Women's rage, mezzo swing, bass swing, whatever. So let's try the new key. Ready? And higher and a little bit faster. So Tsmidao, your pitch, which I can't see. And so the tempo, Tsmidao, ghmerto, about like that. Ready, and
when did this appear in?
This appears in almost every service, and it's sometimes substituted during Great Lent. Шустара садались Tsmidao. Diriba Mravalzhamier bolos.
Liturgia.
Oh, liturgia. It's in the beginning of the liturgy before the gospel reading. We also sing it at the end of Glory to God in the highest. In the Vespers.
After the third antiphon,
Yeah.
the liturgy.
So it's common to sing. All right. Since we have a bunch of interesting pieces, let's move on and go to page 2. Actually, no, page 3. The one that says chant word of the Lord, and then in the rubric says Gelati Monastery School. Gelati. Okay, so these are this is the troparion for the St. Nino, evangelizer of Georgians, that we had in the talk yesterday, and I thought we would just try singing through these variants. So this is beautiful Georgian chant, and The melody is basically the same in 3 variants, but the lower 2 voices have quite different parts. So that'll be what we have interest to try and compare these. So we just try reading through it since you're all very good singers. Is that too low? Kind of teaching as a bass baritone. Okay. It's okay. Let's try it at this pitch and then we'll move it up later. Ready, and... Don't worry too much about the words. Just go through it. And Gelati monasteries in central Georgia is where most of the chants that we have notated come from this school. Beautiful melodies, harmonies, basically thirds, fifths, octaves. You see a lot of some tenths. Not too many, say, seconds or ninths. So now let's turn to the next page, the one that says Shemokmedi Monastery School. And this will be similar, but second voices to harmonize the melody. Instead of thirds under the melody, this master chanter, Artemio prefers seconds. So you see that right from the beginning. So where do we end? So the previous chant we started 8, 6, 1. But here he prefers 8, 7, 1. So right away he's saying, I'm not from Gelati, from Shemokmedi. We prefer this kinds of chords. 8, 7, 1. Or 9, 5, 1. Also one of his favorite chords. So look for those. Okay, let's get ready. And goes a little bit faster than that. Sitqvisa, like that. That's half beat. Ready and. So we have ba. Let's go from ba, top voices. Ba. Right. So you don't Artem, the singer here, made a choice. He didn't have to initiate this voice crossing. He could have just stayed up above in the normal melody, but it's more interesting for him to do a voice crossing. And if he does that, the seconds have to respond with that that rising one. When the seconds hear the first voice start the voice crossing, seconds have to respond with that. So this is a really nice one. One more time, tops. Ba, ba, ba. Together. So the eights are dragging a little bit. So so we get right into O on the beat. Ready? Yeah. So let's start from the beginning of that line. First voices, second voices. This is from ta. Beginning of the third line. Ready? And. Chooses a fifth and a ninth underneath, so that's his Artem's stable chord, his go-to chord when we basically have a recitative. It's a recitative. He's just getting through a bunch of text before the melody starts, and the way to harmonize or his stable chord is this 5/9, which I find really interesting. It's a type of chord that we don't usually find in Western music. It's against the rules. So let's try this again and make it feel more like a recitative. So I know the text is unfamiliar, so it's a little bit difficult to sing it fluently, but breath. Right? So we want to have a little bit of an accent on the beginning of the first syllable of each word. So, like that. That's how we give the recitative more meaning. A little bit of leaning in into the very first syllable of each word. So, ready, and. Georgian chant usually doesn't happen until these last couple of syllables. So, that's about the extent of a rhythm. It doesn't really, we don't belabor it. We don't start slowing down before that. Okay, any questions about this piece? Did you feel a difference in the harmony a little bit? I hope so. Let's go back to the third one, the third variant of this chant. Now we're moving into East Georgia. It's about 8-hour drive from the Black Sea inland to the viticulture region of East Georgia where this music's from. Just to give you a sense of how far away it is. It feels a lot further than an 8-hour drive in the U.S. In the U.S., we're used to driving long distances all the time. We can jump in Dallas or New York. But in Georgia, it's very mountainous, and in the past, there weren't good roads, and so people were fairly localized. There wasn't too much travel between the regions, so that's how the cultures developed independently. So they have different cuisine, different dialects, different costume, clothing, and different folk music and different chant in each of the regions. So it's hard to imagine that in America, but if you think about like the old country, England, for example, you go from one county to another and you get these kinds of regional variations, and people are proud of it and they maintain them, even now that we have modern roads and modern communication. So similar in Georgia. So as I said yesterday, this is the region where we have that wonderful drone polyphony, where the basses were singing on long drones and the two soloists do all those ornamental lines at the top. So those same singers, those same folk singers were singing this chant, and this is the way that they developed this melody. So let's try. So middle voice is now back to G natural. Sitqvisa. Ready. So, which did you like of these three variants? Which harmony suits your own taste? You like this last one?
I love hearing the middle melody. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I just love it. Yeah.
Yeah. They have the melody. I'm a stickler for this. But the middles get this beautiful ornamental.
Okay, so would you call it a counter melody or counter function?
Sure. I do use that term, but then my Renaissance professor was like, no, counterpoints is very specific. You can't use it for this. So, but I think it's appropriate. It's counterpoint. Yeah, it's added line. Now the simple variants of this particular hymn from East Georgia, the middle voice would basically move in step with the other voices and would not have double notes. But there was one particular chanter, one of those brothers that I showed the picture of, and he was like always trying to make it more complicated, more interesting. So in his manuscripts, we get this variant, this Vasil. Vasil was the master chanter among the five brothers, and he loved the ornamental middle lines. So. But his brothers preferred the simple because they wanted to make sure that the tradition continued in future generations, and they said, if we do it too complicated, no one's going to learn it and it'll die. So let's make it super simple so that the children can learn it and they can teach their children. So there was this debate going on in the 1890s, 1900s. So did you feel like you could hear the other parts? Could you listen while you were singing? Did you hear how your voice parts fit in together? Basses and tops, you have these moments where you're moving together, either in octaves or in fifths. Then you'll split, come back together. And middle kind of takes away that too much parallel motion by doing some sort of counterpoint to that, some sort of opposing motion. It's beautiful. All right. Why don't we sing? How much time do we have?
We've got about 35 minutes.
Oh, great.
So I mean, if you get through all your stuff, I'm sure we have lots of questions about it.
Yeah. All right, let's go through our last piece, and then we can come back and do something fun and get the Georgians to sing for us again. So you guys can sing for us. So this is also Mravalzhamier, who I was just talking about. So continuing on the same tradition, East Georgian. It's this piece that is the one that we haven't sung yet. We sang a variant of this last night at the concert, the one that was very, very precious, that we sang very quietly, the full choir. But we won't do that here because we'll sing this in Vasil's style, which was to sing it like folk music with the folk kind of performing live. What happened in the 20th century is that in the beginning of the 20th century, some Georgian composers that had studied in Russia brought back this tradition of taking old chant lines, like in Russia they used this nominee chant melodies, and compose new music. I'm talking about Kostalsky and Smolensky in the Synodal school. And then they composed and arranged pieces for a large chorus of men and women. So one of the Georgians that studied in Moscow was Zakaria Paliashvili, and he came back, he took this variant from Vasil and arranged it for a large chorus and published that in 1909. And now there's an American choir in Washington, D.C. that's just released a CD of that entire liturgia that was arranged in 1909. Yeah, that's saying a little tangent, but has a point. So that arrangement was set for a large chorus to be sung in that kind of precious manner, and that was picked up on by mid-20th century Georgian performers, and that's why sometimes we perform this chant in the Paliashvili arranged style, which has to do not just with notes, but in the way that we sing it. And other times now in the revival, young chanters say, no, we should go back to the Vasil's version, the one in front of us, and we should sing it in the traditional performance practice of just like that with a full voice, rather than what the Paliashvili performance practice does. Like that, more of a covered tone. So, in Georgia, you can hear both styles now. They're perfectly fine. Just wanted to describe that. Yeah, that's
Sorry, before you jump in, I got a quick question. between the two different styles, does the temperament change, the tuning change as well? Like, is there more Western?
Yeah,
Or do
you know, very few Georgian choirs attempt to sing Georgian tuning.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite difficult, and it lends itself more to folk music, where you can lean into those neutral tones a little bit, and where you're not bound to a page, and where, see, these chants now were recorded by the Untitled Church Choir in the 1990s, and they released CDs, and now those CDs are circulating as like the audio template for my generation to learn chant from, and they sing in temper tuning when they sing chant. So when I look at this page or I just sing it from memory, I've got that audio in my mind as the temper tuning. Meanwhile, the same choir, when they sing folk songs, they often experimented with doing Georgian tuning. So when I sing that folk song, that's how I learned to sing Georgian tuning.
Excuse us.
So, yeah.
Sorry, it has nothing to do with the singing. Just like last night in the pub, the cold air started blowing, so the choir members are wondering whether it's going to stay cold or it's going to turn back to warm, or what's to be exacted. Or shall we?
It's unknown. We don't control our own
Okay.
air conditioning and heat at the university.
All right, well.
If you want to move, you can, though.
Okay,
But
I'm trying to come back. Excuse us.
Okay, let's sing this one. Let's do basses here. Ready? And singers, just get a bunch of music, read through it, and have fun singing it, getting the notes right. Of course, to get this to the next level, it takes rehearsal, it takes getting into the text, understanding what the texts say is really important so that you can impart the right feeling to what you're singing, especially in chant, because the chants are prayers and they have specific functions in the liturgy. And when we sing in church, in Georgian Orthodox churches, most of us sing in church choirs. It's ghvtisa. And let's say the altar is here, so there's two big pillars here. My choir stands in front of this pillar like this, facing the iconostasis. And all the other people are also facing the iconostasis. Even people right next to me don't look at the choir. They never look at us. They're always facing the iconostasis. So after we sing a chant, for example, there's no applause or affirmation or like, wow, that's really good. Thumbs up, nothing. You know, it's all just prayer. Everything that we're saying, everyone is praying along with us, all facing the altar, looking at the liturgical action of the deacons and the priests and so forth. So this is a really interesting difference from when I was singing in Protestant churches, for example, where we would stand for our anthem and face the congregation and perform. And they wouldn't applaud, but almost. You know, there was that sort of dynamic. So, and sometimes they would applaud the congregation in church. So I point this out because the text is really critical for the chanters to know what they're singing so that they're not performing music for an audience, but really conveying the meaning of the text for people that are praying. Yeah.
Would that change too how it sounded? Because going out to a church, you're filling the whole space, but if you're singing to the altar space, I mean, is the church
Well, the good
generally
thing
formed
is
in a good,
most Georgian churches have these domes
right?
that are supported by 4 columns. So we're standing just inside the corner of the dome.
So you sing
Oh.
the
Yeah, so when we're in front of this pillar, here's the dome and the sound goes up and then fills the church. So the acoustics are really good.
no carpet in those churches.
No carpets, everyone's standing.
So I know that like in a lot of churches around here and in history in Europe, there's children's choirs that sing. Is there any sort of history of that in Georgia, of children being part of the liturgy as far as the music?
That's a great question. Children definitely sing in Georgia. They grow up in musical families. There's always singing. Whenever guests are over, the guitar comes out, or people playing the piano, or just sing. My wife grew up in a musical family, so whenever we have our kids over to the in-laws' place, there's always music around. Do children sing in church? I don't know of that, but we know from historical documents that young boys would apprentice with master chanters starting around age 6 or 7 or 8, and it was a 5-year apprenticeship, and then they would be considered good enough chanters to lead their own choirs, and they would go back to their villages and gather their own crew together and teach them chant and lead the services. So there was that apprenticeship model, so there must have been children singing church. Yeah.
You've had some there where even he took orphans
To non-authos.
Yeah.
And I can speak for the modern era. Just 2 weeks ago, I was working on a documentary film that is about Georgian chant. Russians are making it. So we were traveling a lot in different regions to see different churches and monasteries. And in one place, it's called Mravalzhamier, which is the southern part. In the cathedral church, they have children. The youngest is 8 years old. And when there are feast days, they're distributed to different villages. And their teacher is a nun herself. So they have 3 sisters, not twins, but how do you say about
Triplets.
triplets? Yes. And they all go to different villages, and they're all children. They're 11, 10, 12. Most churches, I would say, have adults as singers, but we definitely have that kind of moment when children can absolutely sing. And sometimes in this particular region, children are crucial for the villages. And the priest himself says, you will go to that village, to that church, tonight you will sing that. So they're basically the main chanters there. And the youngest is 8, Barbara.
And this is all recreated tradition. I mean, this was cut off. A lot of traditions from previous centuries were just cut off by the Soviets in 1920. So what's happening now is what fits with the modern religious life and how we imagine things to be in the past. Maybe there were a lot more children in the past. We just don't know. We don't have historical sources.
And Zura actually is directing used to direct, and I think still is a big boys choir, not girls. And on the big feast days, I think they go to your cathedral to perform chants.
Does your boys choir sing in services?
Yes.
My tour as well, yes.
Actually, those singers, masters, chant masters, the people that became masters later, they used to start studying chanting from the childhood, so they must have to sing services. So I think children sing all the services.
Yeah.
Probably they haven't been the main choirs on the services, not main choirs, but they always follow their families or their masters to chant and to sing on the services.
Yes. Other questions? Should we sing a bit more?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's your favorite? What should we sing again? How about back to the Mravalzhamier that we started with? Let's see if we have that one. Would anyone like to try the solo from Notre Dame here, Notre Dame choir? I'm looking at you three gentlemen in the middle section. You want to try this? It's a free rhythm. You can really do whatever you want there. There's all different sorts of variants. This happened to be the way one guy sang it one time and it was written down. You could sing Mravalzhamier. You could do whatever you want. You don't even have to end on a G. I've seen you sing. You could end on a B. Yeah. Somehow you have to indicate the modal scale so that the tops know where they're coming in, and then the rest of us base our entry pitches off the top. So at some point you have to hit what in this transcription would be a D, so that the tops know that that's there. And then, do you want to try it? Okay, I'm putting That's good, that's great. The main vowel coming down is A. Mravalzhamier.
Yeah, sorry.
And let's do it up a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Let's make that the This will be the bass note. Will be your start.
is it normal to like real, like or is that just something that every member probably has?
Do you hear these guys doing that?
Yeah. I'm like, maybe this is wrong.
If they're doing it, it's right.
Okay,
Do what they're doing.
cool.
So where are they doing it?
Maybe all the notes are actually holding.
Yeah.
To these weird, well, I guess sort of just see the probably going to the next measure.
Are they cutting, is it when they're breathing and they're coming back in?
Sometimes it just even whenever they're just whenever the note is just probably doing it.
Now, in sacred chant, that would be discouraged. So usually, like a choir director would say, no, just come in straight on the pitch and don't give me any of that thing. But in folk music, that's one of these little ornaments or little things that people put into folk music to signify they're singing folk music. And this being a folk song, I think that might be it. Yeah.
So the typical also not to sing with vibrato as well.
They do not sing with vibrato.
Gotcha, I figured that. You all change the color of our voice, and I like that.
Sometimes in one region in West Georgia, in San Miguel, there's a quaver, I call it. It's not like, oh, it's more like, a little bit of, like how do you do a Megrelian sort of, Hoti style quaver? Are you
Aber ze na tym mając
Now that we ask for this one great.
Açın.
Maybe you just love it.
Hatara vibracja. So you can hear it's not exactly straight tone.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of flutter to it. Flutter quiver, but it's not a full on.
I think the idea of ornaments and improvisation around a melody and finding that color, because James grew up in the boy choir tradition, and that's our kind of the boy choir, maybe not our school of thought, but can you give us an example maybe of your guys singing it a couple of different ways?
Okay. Shejdziva spadasva solos varianti quattrino. I solo da terilia, ma variante di shejdziva.
რატო იცი თვითონ თქვა რომ ეს ბიჭები ჭუნათა ბუჩე გასტილი და ეს შუა საუკუნეების ბგერები არისო და ხვდებით რომ ეს ის არ არისო და შეიძლება რომ თქვენი გვაჩვენოთ.
და ბგერების ვარიანტები.
ანუ როგორ?
შენებული ვარიანტი მოჩი დაწერია ეს კი არა. მერე და ზურავად სხვა
So you can come straight down that
says
fourth.
run downstairs.
Run down the stairs as a variant to holding on each stair as you come down. It is one. That's holding out. Sura.
They're both Eastern, but different regions, Kartli and Ghvtisa.
So he's adding more, he's saying the same pitches, but he added more of the little ornaments between each pitch. So that if you think of stairs like that, when you go down a stair, you add ornaments going up and a curlicue down. But when you go up, you don't add ornaments. It's only when you go down, pretty much. And it's not just grace, it's like 6 or 7 little tiny bits,
Yeah.
and then
Could you, okay. I don't know, to me, like, that is something that I'd love for us to learn. Like, I want to hear James sing that. Or somebody great, John.
What do you guys want to try the Shemokmedi solos?
And then give us corrections.
Want to try it? Huh?
I'm really good at singing notes that are on the page.
You depend on the notes. Go for it.
Oh, sure.
Pretty good. And you want to end up there.
So I have to go all the way down?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen other variants where they ended on B, but
I have to sing it in order to scale.
yeah, I mean, for now. If let's say you could do other variants if your friends knew what you were doing and you've done that before, and then they would all come in. But given the context that we have now with the music, let's just sing.
Go all out. All out.
All right, let's. Can you try it there?
Mravalzhamier.
Good. So I'd say when you're on a stair, you hold it, and don't feel bashful about holding it a little bit longer. Mravalzhamier. You can hold that for a while, and then move. And when you move, do it decisively. Mravalzhamier. So when you're holding, hold it for a while, and then be decisive about it. One more time. Good. That's a lot better. That's it. All right. Back here.
Yeah, sure.
Great. And what you want to do is just throw the sound out. You're trying to grab the attention of everyone at the table that's talking and chinking glasses and moving plates around, being noisy, and you have to cut through all the noise and let them know that now we're singing. So over here, any soloists?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll try my tenor.
All right.
Mravalzhamier.
Good. That's a new variant. And you have a great timbre. That's the Georgian timbre. That's your real voice. You want to try it? No.
Sure.
Go for it.
Mravalzhamier.
Excellent. Excellent.
Are these variations depending specifically upon like regions and where you would have grown up or where you lived?
Yeah.
But where you guys are at, you kind of do all.
We're the
You kind of
capital city,
melting
and the ensembles in the capital city tend to dip into every region and do exemplar pieces from each region. So typical semi-pro folk ensemble in Tsmidao would be that they have like 2 pieces from each of the 12 regions that are part of their core repertoire. But when you go to the regions, they'll sing 100% their own regional repertoire.
I don't know if you sang this one last night, but I would just love it if we could hear, it's a short one and you open the concert and sing it, and it with your choir. It's one of the most fun, I still sing it, like I still find myself singing, and it's just,
All right.
it's just,
Hey, got it. Can you come up here?
What?
And sing out
I remember.
Do you want me to teach it? Do we have time?
We have time.
Yeah, we can. We've got about 10 minutes.
Oh,
no,
okay,
about
great.
8 minutes, yeah.
This is Julie. She was at Princeton, and I had the Princeton Georgian choirs there for 7 years, and you sang with us for a semester.
But I wanted to do one.
This was one of the and this is my wife, who co-directed that year, right?
Women, I only women's choir.
Yeah. So let's sing it together, and then I'll teach you real quick. So it's sort of easy, right? What voice part? Yeah, come on up. Okay, melody starts. Ready and. Okay, so top voice. Try that. Now for the meaning. Good. That's basically the song. You repeat that over again. There's a variant now. Then it goes. So let's try that where we do the variant at the top. And do you understand how that fits in? Okay, that's the second variant. And the third one is. Hector, can you say it? And then the same thing. Good. So let's try all three variants. I'll say variant 1, variant 2, variant 3. And. through. So twice through verse 1, the very 1. Okay, middle. Oh, now let's do basses. Let's try that. So let's try that again. Can you just sing that? Good. And then from there we jump down. Oh, instead of oh, we jump down one pitch, and again with the melody. So that's variant 1 and 2 for basses. Variant 3. And then we're back into it. So let's try this third variant. So middle voices, you start on the same pitch as the tops. So you sing, you sing, very easy. So this is sort of the stabilizing pitch as the outer voices are moving. Let's try it. Alright, so that's your part. It's very critical though. You're the foundation of the elements. Okay, so let's try it. Middles and tops. You'll come in and a basses hold on, I'll signal when you come in. Ready, and
Thank you. So we've got to stop here, but we see, I think, all of you with the children this afternoon, or many of you with the children this afternoon, and many of these people will also be there as well, and then we'll see you all for dinner tonight.
Yes.
So thank you all, thanks to all of our guests, and give them a round of applause. Thank you.